You are listening to The Four Corners, the official podcast of No Counters, No Combos. What is up, Square Nation? Welcome back to the Four Corners podcast, and we're having a special edition upload this week. I was a bit under the weather. Normally on Wednesdays when we do these recordings here for the Four Corners podcast, so I do apologize for getting this out late, but I felt like, better late than never, so to speak, to try to stay consistent. And of course, we have a special guest with us tonight, Mr. Eric Goodwin himself. How are you? I know it's been a little bit since we talked, but what's going on, man? What's good?
Not much. Getting ready for the ARG. I don't know even what it's called anymore, but the big ARG, the end of the year one. I guess they're nationals.
The Atlantic City one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of that, let's just jump right into it. Before your obviously AC is coming up now in 2 weeks. I'm planning on going there as well. Have you attended any other events in between to kind of just like get ready to get back into like the tournament mode?
Yeah, I went to. Was that Boston? I guess it was Springfield. Yeah, I went to Springfield, Massachusetts for that ARG, okay. And I took 17th with Kid Q.
Okay.
And
that was still during Super Shenron, though, right?
Yeah, it was quite annoying.
Oof. That sucks.
For this format, I just did Anime Next. I did the 3v3.
Okay, so you didn't do the singles at Anime Next, the 20-man local. I mean, the 20-man event.
No, I had stuff to do on Saturday, so I went to try to get my invite.
Now they were giving out Nat's invites for the 3v3, right?
I think so. I'm not. It's kind of confusing the way they're doing it right now.
The regional invite to get a national invite.
I'm not sure. I'm not gonna lie. If I won it, I would have known.
Oh, okay.
But I lost on stream to Marcel.
So who was the 3-man squad for that event?
So that squad, it was myself, Pat O'Neill, and Connor Wood, and I played Janemba. Connor played Yellow Dende, and then Pat played this pretty cool Chilai list. So it was a good run. I mean, like, it was only 3 rounds.
Yeah. So
it's basically single elimination, and we got a round 1 bye, which was amazing. Round 2, we played Peter Catani, Jason Coppola, and Dylan Ashcraft, and they lost round 1.
Oof.
And they're all my teammates besides Peter. So we played it out, and I think my team won. I don't remember, but they just gave us the win.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so I just got like 2 buys, and then we played Marcel, Eddie, and I can never remember the third guy's name, but Connor and I both lost, so we didn't get the invite.
Ooh. Well, so aside from the unfortunate news that you guys lost, like, I haven't really experienced a team event yet. So I know that you've done singles and teams. So what is the team event like? Like, what type of a dynamic is it between players? And I know you really can't use the same cards as everybody else. So, like, is it a struggle building a deck for a team event?
Not anymore. The first 3v3 at the ARG Invitational last year, me, Connor Wood, and Ronald Mack, we won the event, and that one was way harder to build for, because at the time it was like Storm had just come out, but no one was really playing it. Like, I think Red Blue SS3 won that event,
Mm-hmm.
Danny Height, so no one was really on Storm yet, because it was too soon. And then you had SS3, which took all the good blue.
Right.
You had Storm, which needed the same blue as SS3. And I think U7 Frieza was out. So that was like a kind of popular one.
Oh, so this
But
was like
when we won that one.
This was the big 5K in AR in Philly, right? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like right. Okay, I remember. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so it was Ronald played Ginyu Apes
Ooh.
with Shugesh. I played Pan, and Connor played Blue-Green SS3.
Okay.
So that one was probably the hardest one to build for. I know, like, other decks that I saw when... I can't remember what the second place team played, but, like, I can't remember the third deck, but Tony Couture played Veggies, Ginyu Veggies. Vinny Silverman played U7 Frieza, and I can't remember the third deck. But that event was kind of hard. There just wasn't a big enough card pool for everybody.
Right.
And blue was so dominant that, like, it was hard to mix and match. But the way we did it was, like, Ronald Mac got Ginyu Apes, and we figured, all right, you take all the yellow. Just take whatever yellow card you need. I played Pan, and I played Mono Red.
Yeah.
I played like two or three Zenos in it, but like I was doing chain attack Bobbity all day.
Right.
I think I only had I had 2 games on stream, but both of them I chain Bobbitied my opponent because it was a lot slower back then.
Right.
And then
You could get
Connor
to that
just played
6.
SS3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's like I feel like it's so easy. Like team events almost build themselves. Like someone gets full powered mill, and no one else. Like it just gets all the cards.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Someone gets Shugesh, whatever they want, and then the last person either plays Height of Mastery without Shugesh, or like there's so many decks. You can play Baby, Red Gogeta, Kid Ku, like without touching each other's card pools. You can even play 2 like Wish Leaders. Like you can play Dende, Shenron, and Purunga. You can play all 3 and like barely touch each other, except for one person gets screwed with Dragon Balls. But
well, yeah, because you'd have to play. You'd have to play like Purunga's balls in one, and then regular in the other.
And then 4-star balls in the last one. Screw it.
Yeah, whatever.
Just whatever Dragon Ball you can fit into it.
Yeah, because that doesn't go against the strategy of a Wish Leader at all.
No, never. But it's so crazy that you can do like 2 Wish Leaders, and like that's fine.
Yeah, I mean it is.
Like we did Chilai and Yellow Dende.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true.
So it was like, yeah. Pat took Purunga's Dragon Balls, Connor took Dragon Balls and 1-star balls. And, like they didn't touch each other's card pool. I was like, yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
Like that's not okay.
It seems a little counterintuitive, but just overall, like the experience of the event, playing with friends. I'm sure it sounds like a lot of fun. Just kind of like doing the whole 3v3, and I'm sure it's a lot less. Not less competitive, but just a lot less pressure, and more of like a fun thing. Or am I just completely wrong? And 3v3 is like the most competitive thing ever.
It depends. I've been in a couple. I've played in every one that I could. So like, it really depends on the other team and the matchups because like, it is fun. I would say it's more fun than singles, but. Like Orlando Celebrations, when we did that one was best of 3 with a sideboard, but we couldn't share any cards. So like,
ooh, that's rough.
It was like, I guess you get Haru and I'll get Mercenary Tau, and like you're trying to like split up all these silver bullets between everybody, and it was kind of weird. But it's way not fun when you're like the Shugesh player and you just accidentally sit across the Kurnoa player like 2 rounds in a row. Yeah. You're like, oh, this is so unfortunate.
Yeah, that's
right. It is pretty competitive though. Like, I mean, I haven't really seen other teams do it as much as like I make my teams do it. But the second you see an important card, like you have to shout it out to the team. like if the person in seat A is playing Kami, you have to tell us. That way we can overextend. Or like if you saw Champa and I saw Supreme Kai, now you can just go, like the last person can go to 1 life. Or like not negate a single strike attack.
So you can openly communicate with your teammates while the event is going on?
Yeah, you can openly communicate, and you can whisper as well. Like the other team does not have to hear what you're saying, as long as all 3 players have remained in their seats. So like if usually I'm player B, right? So I'll talk to player A and I'll talk to player C, and the goal was always like I either played the most aggressive deck in the middle, so I could end my games and then coach both sides, or I would play the slowest deck, like Mill. That way I could kind of like take my time and watch the other games and like find out a lot of information about my opponent's deck.
I see. Huh. That's interesting. It sounds like there's
you can openly communicate.
It sounds like there's a completely different strategy involved, something that, obviously in singles you're not really going to see too much. Having that coaching ability or, just the open lines of communication seems pretty huge. It's really interesting. I'm kind of curious to try. I don't think that we're doing one this time around. I think we're kind of more focused on the single event for our team here. But I definitely think in the future it's something that I would probably try if I had more time to like get ready for it. I think we've just been so busy, play testing these last couple of weeks to get ready for singles. We haven't really focused too much on either side events or the team events because our team at No Counters No Combos, we're not officially a team yet. Like nobody knows that we have a team here. We don't really like, I don't really advertise the team just yet because I wanted to have a platform to do so, and we're targeting Atlantic City to do that.
Right.
It's like, okay, here's another team that you can throw into the mix. So we're kind of really focusing on that, and we're just practicing and making sure that I really want my teammates to do well. Like me personally, I don't care about how I do. I'm more focused on my teammates, and I want them to do really, really well. Because at the end of the day, they're the ones that are going to help grow the team. Because I can't be as involved, when the major events occur, like on the weekends, essentially. Like I can't be as involved on the weekends as I am during the week, and during the week is essentially just like locals and stuff. So I want them to kind of, hopefully, do well so that I can kind of like, make a team captain and just kind of like have them do things on their own. I mean, I'm sure being a part of Team Ellipsis is kind of like the same idea. I mean, you guys all have a pretty close-knit community, and you guys all seem to play just as much as the others, but I'm sure there are people on your roster who can't really play as much, or they're, have other commitments, so I'm sure it's just kind of like a similar situation with us. We just want to make sure that we make a good impression, and it's like, okay, these guys are legit, and let's, now let's throw their name into the scuffle as well. But that's the dream,
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely recommend doing the team war. I know, like you said, that you haven't really practiced for it, but like, to be honest, no cost to anyone here. Like the best 3 decks are GT, Mill, and then you can literally pick a 3rd deck. But the idea with GT is that you play GT with strategies, and that's technically the Shugesh counter, because they can't Shugesh explosive you when you strategies, and then someone else gets Chronoa. So basically you get 2 Chronoas instead of just 1. That's like, I always recommend like full power Mill, Broly GT, and then the 3rd deck can be pretty much anything. But right now, I would, any Victory Strike thing with in like the Victory Strike deck, you give Crisis Crusher. That way, the other people can't self-awaken as easy.
That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I like the whole aspect of not only is it a team format when you're actually playing the game, but There's also a team aspect when you're building, like team building, because you guys are all sharing the same card pool essentially, and you play off of each other's strengths. Like like in our situation at No Counters No Combos, our team. Everybody has different play styles. Everybody has different strengths. Like we don't really kind of flock to the same play styles. So it's kind of nice having that dynamic because we all play different things. So we get to bounce ideas off of each other just when it comes to regular deck building. But now you infuse that with the whole team aspect of it, and I think there's a better payoff because it's something that we do regularly anyway. But now we can harness that and gear it towards an actual competitive format. So I think you know what? I think I'm gonna take your advice on that. I think I'm gonna reconvene with my teammates and see what they want to do as far as the 3v3 is concerned, because it does sound like something pretty fun and that we wouldn't want to miss out on. So I definitely appreciate your recommendation. But moving forward, let's talk a little bit about singles. Recently, I know that actually this has nothing to do with the Dragon Ball game itself, but I know that you, for a little bit of time, were banned on Facebook because of some suggestive material, and the ban was just recently lifted. So I kind of wanted to just get, some more information as to like how did it feel getting banned, and like were you going through withdrawals not being a part of the community for however long it was?
Dude, it was so bad because like. I legitimately live on Facebook. If whoever's listening to this, if they have not seen me in the discussion group, like, just pay attention. Because I'm in there nonstop, like, talking smack, starting, like, team wars, and, like, just doing whatever I can to harass people because I think it's hilarious. And it was just like, dude, I was off of Facebook for, like, 8 days. I was dying.
8 days, that's it? It felt like so much longer than 8 days.
It did feel so much longer, didn't it?
Yeah,
it's because I'm literally always on Facebook. Like, I'm always on.
Oh, that's crazy, dude. So what did you do that you got banned from the...
Yeah.
What did you do?
I can't... So, like, Julian Segura, who is in the community... He posted a status saying that he really liked asparagus, and then I posted a photo of asparagus.
Oh, God.
So it was asparagus in someone.
Ah, okay.
Ass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, man. And that warranted a ban. I mean, it's inappropriate material, but did you mean it, like, maliciously towards anybody, or you were just, playing off the words?
No, I was just playing off. I thought it was so funny, and then like I got banned for 8 days, and I was I was so devastated. I think like during my ban, I can't remember what happened in the discussion group, but like something happened, and I just needed to be a part of it, and I couldn't, and I was like so devastated. Sometimes like crazy stuff goes down in that community group, man.
Oh man, that's crazy. But now that you're back, do you feel like there was a piece of you that was missing? Like, do you feel complete and whole again now that you're back in the swing of things and you're back and you're involved with everybody?
I honestly do. I forget who I was complaining to. It was probably my team. I was like, dude, this community needs me because the past like 4 days were so boring.
Like there was no drama or nobody was starting anything.
Yeah, could you imagine if like me, Hernandez, and Corbin were like all Facebook banned, dude? Nothing would happen in the community groups. It would actually probably be a very successful group if the three of us were not involved.
I don't know. I don't think Corbin really, is that much of a troll poster in the group. I don't think that you're
gonna hurt his feelings.
Really? I don't think so. He comes across like so genuine. Like I never really. I mean, I'm oblivious. I have a really hard time dissecting sarcasm when it comes to like like text posts. But I just like Corbin doesn't strike me as that like shit poster. And, shit's a bad word, I guess, but whatever. He doesn't really strike me as a shit poster. I mean, you 100%, definitely strike me as a shit poster. You definitely like to start stuff. Anthony Hernandez, shout out to him.
Oh, yeah.
You guys definitely like to talk smack, on the interwebs. But Corbin, I don't know. I don't think, and if he's listening to this, Corbin, I think you need to step up your game a little bit, dude. I think you need to step up the shit posting a little bit.
His feelings are going to be so hurt.
I love.
I wish I could describe how bad he's going to be.
I don't mean to hurt his feelings. It just doesn't. It doesn't come off as like shit posting to me. Like it's just like, oh, look, Corbin posted. Like, because I don't know. Maybe it's because like he's always writing for 3xG and like actually doing good things for the community. That to me, like the shit posting doesn't really. It doesn't strike me as like part of his character, I guess. I don't know. Maybe that's just me though. I mean, I don't really know him on a personal level like you guys do, but the conversations that we had, he seems super genuine. I don't think unless he's completely just like sarcastic all the time, but for the most part, he didn't strike me like that.
No, he's a good person. I love him very much.
Is he going to AC?
Yeah, he better be. He keeps telling me that he's going, but I never believe him, so we'll see.
All right, so then I'm definitely going to have to confront him and be like, dude, like, I need to apologize for not for not appreciating your shit posting, but that's a conversation for another day. So now that we're talking about Facebook, all right, I think you kind of have a feeling on where we're going with this, right? So I'm going to open up a can of worms here. Who in the world, and if I'm mispronouncing this name incorrectly, please correct me. Who is it Jessica or Jennifer Acosta? Who is that person?
All right, I don't know.
You don't know?
That's what made it so.
Dude,
no,
I thought it was you, bro. I really thought it was you.
A couple people thought it was me, and I was like,
"It's not you."
No,
hot take. That's a hot take. You heard it here on the podcast. It's not Eric Goodwin.
I'm man enough to shitpost on my own account. That was like, that's what got me so mad. I was like, you guys really think I would make another account to say all the things I already say? Like,
I don't know, man. I
got no reason to.
I was looking. I mean, I didn't really like. To me, it like flew right over my head. I've been so busy this week that I really didn't focus too much on it. But I saw a post. I think it was Scott Dashy that posted like just like a call out post, like you need to like confirm right now who you are, blah blah blah. And I was like, wait, what is actually going on? And I kind of looked into it, and then I saw like Hernandez went live with a video trying to like uncover the mystery on who she really was. Like, do we have any suspicion that this is even a real person, or is it like a catfish account?
I'm pretty sure it's a catfish account, but like I've been trying to figure out like, all right, well, who would have done the catfishing,
Right.
And I don't have an answer, but it's still hilarious. Like I really think it's like the funniest thing in the world.
Oh man, like I remember seeing a post the other day, and it was from this person's page, and I was just like, wait, what? This isn't the Dragon Ball community group? Like, what's going on? And then like I kind of like just followed like the rabbit hole down, and I was like, oh, what? Like, there's something that's actually going on here, and like people are really tilted about it. Like, it's kind of funny because you could totally tell it's a fake account, right? Like, by now, like somebody gets called out like that on a consistent basis, they're bound to like, confirm whether they're an actual person or not. At least in my opinion, right? But if we want to peel back the layer of the onion and play detective for a little bit, I'm sure you have your suspicions. So who do you think it could be?
All right, yeah. So I'm not really sure who it is. And the reason I'm confused would be because a couple people said that she was the judge from PPG Dallas, right? And so there was like eyewitness accounts that this girl's real. But then I messaged Stephen Roche, who works for PPG. He was like, she was not a judge because I don't have her name on the judge sheet. I was like, oh my god, this goes deeper than we thought. Like, I got so excited. I was like, oh my god, yes, 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 yes.
Oh boy.
But yeah, I mean, a couple people thought it was me, but like, I'm a
thought
man.
It was you too, because like it made sense. Like it happened like just around the time where you disappeared off of Facebook with your band, and I was like, oh, he just created a second account so you could still be involved somehow. But I don't know, man. I mean, hopefully,
I did
like,
create a second account.
You did.
I did, but it's Eric Goodwin, and it's a picture of Alejandro Mena, but he looks like the moon. So that, I mean, like, I did create a second Facebook,
just to still be in the loop and involved. There's always ways. There's always ways around, restrictions and bans and stuff like that.
You know what the other crazy thing was? Their Facebook had been around since like 2013 or something. Like someone went back and checked, and like the account was old, so it's not like a new thing.
Huh? That's interesting. The plot thickens. We definitely have to get to the bottom of this. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks or so, more light gets shed on it, and see who it is. Hey, maybe it's Scott Dashy. Maybe he's swerving everybody and doing it himself. You never know.
Yo, how excellent would that be?
I mean,
if it was just Dashy,
yeah, it would be so perfect. Dashy's always like talking in the chat about like somebody needs to start drama because this chat is dead and it's dry and like nothing's going on. Somebody please talk about something. So maybe he's just, for entertainment purposes, just kind of like doing it himself. And like, I don't know, that would be hilarious. Like that would be hilarious. I wouldn't put it past
I would be so happy. I can't even describe how happy I would be.
Well, I'm sure we could talk about this all night, but I definitely have a couple other things I want to ask you. So, you actually reached out to me a few weeks ago about an interesting topic of conversation about that you were, quote unquote, tired of hearing players complain about, oh, I only lost because I didn't have a certain card, and if I would have had the certain card, I would have beat you. Or, situations like that. You just kind of wanted to, I guess, vent your frustration or give your opinion on what that actually means. So, by all means, like if you want to talk about that, like let's do it. Let's go into it right now. Like, how does that make you feel when people say that?
Dude, all right. So yeah, I reached out to you. It was right after Springfield, and dude, I heard so much of it, and like, it was driving me nuts to the point where like I started. I mean, like my internet persona. That's my internet persona, right? Like I'm not like that in person. It's just funny on the internet. Mm-hmm. Let's be real, dude. I was furious at this event because every time you walk by a table, man, it was, oh well, they had this card and that card's only at 4 of in their deck, but they already used one, and if they didn't have that, I would have won. Or like, oh, if I just drew my 4th Sensu Bean, I would have won. Like, dude, it drove me up a wall. I was so mad. And like, I usually don't get that mad about dumb things, right? Don't get me wrong, but I like, it's one of the things in the games that like people use as a crutch to not get better. And I think that's what makes me the most mad is like, you have the opportunity to get better and like learn from your mistakes, but instead like you're just gonna blame your opponent for having cards in their deck, right? Like,
right.
It just makes no sense to me.
Right.
Like, don't get me wrong, I get mad when I lose to Victory Strike, and like I will forever get mad at losing to Victory Strike. It's something that I will never be okay with.
You kind of have to get mad when you lose to Victory Strike, though.
That's how I feel. I'm like, yeah, I'm allowed to be a little mad.
If you like losing to Victory Strike, you're a masochist. Like, that's just not fun. Losing from 8 life and doing nothing the whole game. Like, okay, I'm just going to play this one card and you can't do anything about it. Like, that's rough.
Yeah, it's very annoying. And like I said, I usually don't get mad about that type of stuff. Like, I don't really think anything of it, but like, dude, I don't know what it was about this event, but like every person, dude, I walked by every table and like everyone had an excuse as to why they didn't win other than the fact that their opponent beat them.
I mean,
Like, I had, in my games, like, it drives me insane. Because, like, all right, in my games, right? Like, so, round 1 I played against Broly GT and I beat it. And I beat it 2-0. And, like, that's what I won. So, like, forget that game. Round 2, I went to game 3 with the guy who got 3rd or 4th place. Like, I can't remember what he got. I know he made top 8. His name was Austin or something. He was playing Super Shenron Victory Strike.
Okay.
And, like, I won game 1. I lost game 2 because I played incorrectly. And then game 3, I decided to not make that play again because that's how I lost.
Right.
And then I won game 3 because I learned from my mistake in game 2 instead of just being like, oh, my opponent had the Super Shenron play.
Right.
Like, and then round 3, I lost to Victory Strike, which, like, I was annoyed because it's Victory Strike. But at the same time, like, I'm not going to say, oh, my opponent had the Victory Strike. Like, that's his deck. That's what it's supposed to do.
Right.
You can't get mad at them for having it.
Right.
And it was like that all day, man. Like, you would hear people like, oh, he drew the Victory Strike. Like, duh. That's how they win the game. Like, they have other ways to win, but, like, their whole goal is to get to the Victory Strike. Like, they're going to turn 1 summon Crisis Crusher, and then if you don't have an out for Crisis Crusher, you're not going to self-awaken, and they're going to find time to get to a Victory Strike. Yeah. There's, like, a lot of it. There was like, oh, dude, if only I had the Nimbus. It's like, well, you didn't have the Nimbus, and you know you didn't have the Nimbus, so play around the fact that you don't have Nimbus. Like, people just make... The problem is they don't think about their turns, right? So, like, they won't make plays based off of the cards that they have. They make plays based off of, like, the cards in their deck. They're like, oh, I know I play 3 Flying Nimbus, so, like, maybe I'll draw 1 off my super combo. Like, why would you do that when you could just play correctly? It makes no sense.
Yeah, I think the problem is there's 2 different types of players. There's proactive players and then there's reactive players. And I think that because Dragon Ball is such a resource-heavy game, it lends itself to defensively reactive but offensively proactive. And I think sometimes people mistake that because they rely on, okay, I'm nice, I'll just rip this card that I need out of no, like Yu-Gi-Oh! Hard the cards. Like, that doesn't work. That's not real life, right? We're literally working with percentages and numbers and probability and chance. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I have been that player who has been like, okay, I need to draw this 1 card. How nice am I? And I'll dig for it. And I'm just lucky like 60% of the time where I draw into it. But there's a thought process that goes behind that play. I think you hit the nail right on the head. Sometimes people will just... I like to use the expression throw cards at their opponent, and just because, like, it's such a combo-heavy game, so they're just, like, over-combo for no reason to dig for a piece, and then they don't get it, and it's like, well, if I would have had this card, or if I would have drawn into it off of my 6 super combos, you know, but you can't rely on that. So I think that's where the player base gets separated. Yes, I mean, we are competitive players, but the majority of the player base in the Dragon Ball Super card game, the thousands and thousands of people that play the game, I would have to lump them in as more casual than competitive. Because as for the business side of it, you want to target the casual players. So they're still learning the ins and outs. They're still learning card economy, you know, stuff that, you know, shout out to Joey from Crossworld TCG, stuff that Joey talks about on his videos and his Patreon about, you know, virtual advantage, actual advantage, card economy, board presence, plus and minus. Like, this is all things that we have learned by playing the game, but you don't just come in off the street knowing this. And yes, there are people that have played other card games with similar mechanics, but every card game is different. You can't just be a good Yu-Gi-Oh player and start playing Dragon Ball. You can't play Dragon Ball like you would play Yu-Gi-Oh because you lose. Because 9 times out of 10, if you overextend, you lose on the follow-up. There's no return off of it. So, yeah, I mean, I understand, like, oh, if I would have had this 1 card, I would have won. You could say that about anything, you know? You know, you could say that about...
Yeah, well,
anything, literally, like blackjack. Oh, if I would have gotten an ace instead of a king, I would have had 21 and I would have won. Like it's probability and chance.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think what drives me nuts too about like if I had the like literally what makes me the most mad is like if I had the card I would have won, but like you didn't have the card. You know you didn't have the card for 2 turns. Like, what made you think that was going to be like your winning situation? Don't get me wrong. Like, there's times, right? Like, there's times where like you only have a chain attack in hand, and you're like, dude, I wonder if I can only win if I draw Zeno, and like that'll happen. And you're like, I could have won, but like I hate like that's another one where like I would have won if I drew Zeno. It's like you don't know that.
Yeah.
You're randomly drawing 5 cards. Like you could have drawn nothing, and your opponent could have drawn 4 super combos. Like you would have been out of the game. You don't know what happens, and like they also don't understand that like lines of play change based off of a previous line of play.
Correct.
So like a good example would be like a foreseeing hit, where like I summon foreseeing hit, and I take, I don't know, like. Let's get back to basics. So, like, I take 2 Raging Spirit Sun Gohans, and I leave you with 2 Boost Attack Piccolos. Like, that's clearly correct, because I would rather you burn your super combo instead of summoning a Raging Spirit.
Right.
Right? But, like, they don't understand, like, oh, well, if I would have taken the super combos, he wouldn't have drawn that card. Like, correct. But he would have also just had a Raging Spirit on board.
Right.
Like, things change.
Right. Yeah, it's the difference in stopping a current play or a potential play. Like, foreseeing hit is a perfect example of a future play. Like, I like foreseeing hit as a card. I think it's a very powerful card. I think hand knowledge is very, very powerful in this game. Like, knowing what your opponent has, knowing how much they can combo, I think it separates you from winning a game to potentially, losing a game. But it's never really the foreseeing hit that wins you the game. It's what you do on the follow-up. So for a long time, the argument was made that, a lot of decks that focused heavily on chain attack Zeno strategies, the best card to play on the follow-up was foreseeing hit, because you go chain attack Zeno, shuffle their hand back, they draw 5, and then the next turn you foreseeing hit, and you're taking 2 cards. Now you're up in card economy, but what are you doing after that hit? Because if you just play hit to take 2 cards out of their hand and do nothing, they're going to get those 2 cards right back when the turn's over. So what is the follow-up play to that? And I think that's what made Red-Blue Hirudegarn such a strong deck for such a long time, because they would save their Awaken, they would chain Zeno, draw 5, play hit, Awaken, untap 2, and now they have another play. And if they're at 4 energy, they're going to time walk you with their leader swing anyway. So there's always a follow-up. There has to be a reaction to what it is that you're doing. You can't just play hit and pass. I mean, in certain situations, maybe that's the right play. You play hit and pass, but for the most part, there has to be a reason for that. You're not just going to play a hit randomly just because, I have 4 energy, let me play this hit, because it's not going to do anything for you. So I think that's where the separation comes in our game. People understand.
Especially like.
Go ahead.
No, yeah, it's just like, even as good as card knowledge is in this game, right? Like, there's so much variance in what happens to someone's hand.
Absolutely.
Where, like, I can take, like, let's say I took, I don't know, like 2 Raging Spirits out of your hand with a foreseeing hit, right? And I know that your last 3 cards in hand, let's say, and I pass turn to you. There's a draw for turn, there's a draw for leader swing, there's a possible, so many battle cards draw, right? Mm-hmm. So battle cards are drawing, and then the Raging Spirits are coming back. My hand is almost completely different, and unless you were ready for like that swing and the change of my hand, like, you're going to lose anyway. I think it was God, who was it? Someone against me at one point in time. Like, they foreseeing hit me when I was playing Janemba, and like, they could have either taken my super combos, or they could have taken my Demon Sword or my Reality Bender. Mm-hmm. And I was like, they might take the super combos and try to kill me. But instead, they took the Demon Sword and the Reality Bender. That way, I couldn't mill them 6 on the following turn.
That's the correct play. Because you play hit against Janemba, 90% of the time, you're not winning that turn that you play hit. So you have to prepare for the follow-up. Now, if he would have taken your super combos out, he probably would have swung at you, and you would have taken the 2 free cards from the double strike. And then next turn, you play the Janemba, mill him 2, warp his hit, and then there goes that, and then you get back your 2 cards anyway. So, yeah, no, I completely agree with
exactly.
I completely agree with that.
I think people have a hard time, learning from games that they lose, when those are the best games to learn from. You rarely learn stuff when you win, right?
100%.
You might find a play. You might find a play that you're like, wow, I never thought of that play, and that play won me the game. But that's a rare occurrence. It's much more likely that you learn about a scenario when a mistake is made. A great example is at Anime Next, I played Marcel on stream, right? And it was a best of 1, and at one point, to give you a breakdown of the play, I have a book in my hand, Marcel has a book in his hand. He has a Height of Mastery, Roshi, Shen, and a Whis, the 1-drop Whis. Mm-hmm. And I'm going on to 4 energy, and I'm already awoken. So, it's just 4 energy. And what I did was I summoned Kami, and then I blew up the 3 cards that were 4 or less, and I passed turn with an energy against a Height. And the entire chat was like, I guess Eric forgot that it doesn't blow up Height. That's not true. I knew it wasn't going to blow up the Height.
Exactly.
It was just I didn't have a lot of plays. It was I could tap out for Demon Sword and warp the Height of Mastery, but then I lose.
Yeah. Because
I'm tapped out against a Broly player.
Right.
And even though I have Dimension Magic in my hand, there's going to be a bad ring.
Mm-hmm.
So why would I tap out?
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one was summon Childish Heart, take out a Roshi, and then summon the Demon Sword, try to take out the Shen, and then warp the Height of Mastery. I still lose.
Yeah, too much combo power.
I still lose.
There's too much combo power for that. Because now...
So the 2 plays that I had in mind, yeah, it's the 2 plays that I had in mind were I Kami, draw a card, blow up the 3 cards, and have an energy standing, or I pass turn. Those... Out of all the plays that I had, those were the 2 most realistic plays. Where, I know he has multiple bad rings, at least 1, right? Mm-hmm. But he had a lot of cards in hand, so he probably has 2, and he's going to be on 5 energy. So, yes, I could tap out and get rid of the threat on board, but, there's also this Broly that untaps and swings again. It's so insane.
Right. Not to mention, too,
they just
the Roshi Shen combo, if you would have successfully, let's say, tapped out for Demon Sword and warped the Height and milled them 2, and then you're tapped out. So now they go, okay, cool, I'm gonna charge my 5th energy. I'm gonna tap Roshi and Shen to draw 2 cards. So they're just getting more and more and more advantage off of Roshi Shen. And then the other line of play that you could have made was try to swing over. All he has to do is combo 1 Goten, and it's a 21k defense card. It's kind of ridiculous.
Exactly.
So,
tapping
3 for
swinging a Demon Sword on Roshi wasn't even efficient.
Right, exactly. No, exactly.
Yeah. I think the best play I could have done was to leave 4 energy open. But again, I knew he had 2 bad rings, so even that wasn't good because I already know the line of play, and it's he swings Height, I'm a Fuba, he bad rings, and then in return see. This is the only part that I'm confused about what would have actually happened because we don't know, but I could have leader negated, or I could have tried to out combo with 2 energy when he has 5. So he probably combos his hand, in which case I'm forced to leader negate. He restands the Height and swings again. Mm-hmm. I D-magic, take a life, and that way I keep my 2 energy up in case he has the second bad ring, and then he uses his second bad ring. Mm-hmm. So I'm still trying to out-combo a Height on 2 energy. Mm-hmm. And then when I fail there, it's a Broly swing, and then another Height swing. So it was such an unwinnable situation. I was well, Kami's probably the best. I'll draw a card, which is possibly another combo piece, and then I'll get rid of the cards because I got rid of 15k combo, and like that's if he chooses not to draw 2 cards, because like he could also just like he could leave the Roshi Shen standing and just use them as combo power, or he could easily just like draw super combo. Like it's like such a frustrating situation.
Yeah, I mean,
but the chat was like, "Oh, he didn't know it didn't blow up height." Like, I knew exactly that it didn't blow up height. It's like there's so many different lines of play.
Yeah, I mean, it must be nerve wracking. Like, you know, obviously, Marcel Russell is a very well known player, and he's been very successful for a very long time. He's probably, you know, the most successful player, if not one of the most successful players in this game since its inception. So I don't think anybody's arguing that Marcel Russell is a phenomenal player. So, you know, that in conjunction with being on stream, in conjunction with it being a best of one, in conjunction with it being you're playing against probably the best deck of the format with Victory Strike, there are so many things, so many variables that can change the outcome of how you sequence your turns. And I'm a big believer in Dragon Ball being, not only is it resource management, yes, that's important, but you lose 90% of the time if you sequence improperly. And I can't stress I can't stress that enough, how important sequence is, because you can make the same play, like your overall like ending play could be the same, but how you get there, like the steps that you take to get to that finish line, can completely change the outcome of what you've done to get to that point. Like if you're just being brain dead and slamming your head against the wall, you're still going to get to that finish line, but how you get there, your opponent has to react to what you're doing. So it's a mind game, you know, and you're going to see it out of the upper echelon in the community, like the quote-unquote pro players or the better players. You're going to see it from that level. You're going to see that at the top tables. But, you know, casually, you probably won't see that as much. And then that's where the excuses come in. You know, you mentioned earlier how important it is to learn a lesson from losing. And I joke around and with my teammates, and I tell them, "Oh, I'm just bad. I lose because I'm bad." But in all honesty, I love losing. And that might sound crazy, but I love losing because if I lose to you once, I'm going to learn from my loss, and I'm going to adjust my play style, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to give you better competition the next time. And that's really all we could do as players, is just try to improve on our mistakes and not make them again. That's really all that we could do. Sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. That's just the way. That's just the way of the game.
That's just how it is.
You know, if they have Victory Strike,
I was telling someone earlier today. Yeah, exactly. But like, I was telling someone earlier today, like, I never win games on untap. Like, I play untap all day, dude. I lose so many games, and like sometimes I'll actively lose them on purpose. Like, I will make a play that like seems wrong just to see how it plays out. Like, I wonder if this play is actually correct, but I just haven't tested it enough. Right. And then like I'll lose the game because of it. I'm like, well, they're making that play again. Right. Like.
It's important to do that, though.
I purposely like put myself in losing situations. Yeah. Like you can't play every game. Like, another thing is like people won't test with people better than themselves, right? Like people always test with people that make them feel good because they win. Where like you should be aiming to test with people who are just infinitely better than you. Yeah. Because that's how you learn.
Oh yeah.
Like, you're not going to learn anything from playing someone who you beat all the time.
It's true. And sometimes it's a little rough because, not to bash anybody, but obviously, when it comes to a local level, you're always getting like a mix of players. You're getting players that are competitive, you're getting players that are new. So it's a little tough to gauge, where you stand, right? But I'm lucky enough to say that the team that I have assembled, I'm the worst player on that team. So when I play test with my teammates, I'm the worst player, hands down. Like I'm convinced that I'm the worst player.
That's literally the best thing you can do for yourself.
Right. So I'm playing against great, and I think they're great players that they know, like they just know what you're going to do before you do it, and it helps you learn. Like, it really does help. Like, you have to play against quality people if you really want to make noise and take that next step. Now, if you're not looking to do that, if you want to just be a casual, there's nothing wrong with that, of course, but if you want to separate yourself from the pack and be more competitive, you got to play better. You just have to play better players. That's just what it comes down to.
Yeah. That's always been my big thing, is like, I have no problem play testing with people who like aren't as good as me if it's to help them. But like, that's not how I'm going to help myself. Correct. I'm going to help myself by like requesting to play games against people who are infinitely better than me.
Correct. It's, you know, and you can theorize, and you can have conversations about, you know, oh, what do I do in this situation, or what line of play do I do in this situation, or how do I play against this matchup, or blah 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 blah. You can have conversations until you're blue in the face, but until you test those strategies, like in real life, granted, you know, some people are limited and they use Untap, which is a great tool for testing, but for me, like, feeling the cards and playing everything out, and you know the luck factor, like, that's really important too. That's why it helps to have a close-knit group of people that you can reliably play test with, like we have here in northern New Jersey, or like you have in the Cuddle Crew and stuff like that. But you know, you still have to at least go through the motions so that you can see how the lines of play, you know, play out. Like, you can talk about, this combination is really good, but you have to see it live in order for it to be like, okay, yeah, it's good or it's bad. I'm a big believer in that too.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, you know, it's really interesting, and you talked about, you know, players making excuses about how, if I had this one card, you know, but at the same time, I feel like the troll response that everybody just throws out at people is just like, get good, right? Get good and draw the card that you need. But, you know, we say that.
Oh, I love that.
We say, oh yeah, if you get good and draw the card that you need. We say it jokingly, but it's really not helping anybody when you say get good, like you know, like, so it's like, it goes hand in hand. Like, people complain like, oh, if I would have had this one card, I would have won, and then it's just like, well, get good. Like, that's just it, you know. Instead of, like you said, breaking it down and trying to understand what alternative lines of play you could have taken to put yourself in a better situation, we're just immediately slam that, like, get good on the table, and it's just like, ugh. Well, like, what is it actually that I need to do to get better at this game? But, you know, it all depends on your community and your group of friends and stuff like that. I mean, I guess it just really all depends on who you surround yourself with. You guys have a great group with the Cuddle Crew and your Team Ellipsis. You know, we have a great group here at No Counters, No Combos, and we have a really thriving Dragon Ball Super scene in North Jersey. I mean, just this week alone, I went to 4 different locals: Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. The only day off right now is Wednesdays. So that's another thing too, because you're getting different player bases. You know, that's really good. And you know, when you're testing for a big event, competition is still competition. You know, like, you still have to play against different players. And yeah, you know what? I went up against, for example, like, I went up against 2 Janemba decks on Tuesday at my local, but they were 2 completely different players, 2 completely different lines of play, where the one strategy I had against one player might work, but it might not work against this other player, because he might have different tech cards, or he might have different this or different that. Like, I won I won both Janemba games, but the first game I won because I shotgunned into a double strike. And then the second game, I tried doing the exact same thing, and they threw a Godstrike Beerus on the board, and I was like, oh, now I have to recover from this, because they're taking away my double strike. So the same strategy doesn't always work twice. But it's hard to...
Yeah, that's a big thing I talk about. I'm sorry, you can finish.
No, I was just saying that it's kind of hard to do that in a best of one format, because you're only playing one game against that opponent, so you really can't learn how they play from just one game. But
yeah,
what were you going to say?
Same idea, but with that, like, when people talk about the Janemba deck, like, not being skillful, same with Haida Mastery, stuff like that, like, they are. That's the biggest issue, is that they are. Because if playing against Dahan Hardesty with him using Janemba is way different than playing against your local casual player playing Janemba.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's insanely different. You know, Daehan is like a very, very skilled Janemba player. So if you can't compare, like, well, Janemba's so helmet, or like, I always beat Janemba. It's like, yeah, you might always beat like your Janemba player, or you might always lose to like this Janemba player, but like, they're all different, right? I've won, like, I very rarely lose the Janemba mirror match, but like, there's some people who I can't beat in it because they know the matchup even better than I do.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
just stuff like that.
And that's what it comes down to. Like, matchup knowledge in this game is a lot more important than in others, because if you have an idea of what your opponent wants to do, you can now effectively react to their plays before they make them, putting you in a plus situation. However, your opponent can do the exact same thing. So if you're playing against somebody like Daehan, like you said, who's probably one of the best Janemba players in the game, right? Like, if you're playing against Daehan, he's probably seen it all. So you think you're going to sit across from Daehan and do this big brain strategy that's going to be like, oh yeah, this is going to help. He's probably seen it already, so he's going to know how to now play against that too. So now you have to adjust on the fly, which can be super uncomfortable, especially in the Janemba matchup, because you're playing against the clock. So Dragon Ball for me, essentially, like, this is, I've played a lot of different TCGs, and this, I am biased because Dragon Ball, I grew up watching the show, and Dragon Ball has been a very big part of my life, and blah, 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 blah. But aside from, if you take the IP away from it, right, whether it's Dragon, they could throw another IP on it. Let's say it's a Digimon card game with the exact same mechanics and how the game is built. I think the infrastructure of the game is what people are attracted to. The game mechanics are very good. Even though people complain about non-interaction, there is a lot of interaction in this game. Yeah, people are like specifically...
Oh yeah, I've always said that this is the most interactive game.
Correct, it is, because the combo step
is easily the most interactive.
Super interactive. So you take all that...
Yeah, you can't...
Yeah, so it's like, the way the game is built from the inside out is what keeps people playing, and then you attach a very popular IP like Dragon Ball to it, is what is going to attract people in the beginning. Because if you have a cool looking card game, but the game is trash, people are going to fall off. So I think it's both a fun game, like, it can be fun, but it can be super competitive at the same time, which is a nice balance to have. Now, I wish that, obviously, when you get closer and closer to an event, people like ramp up their competitiveness and they start tryharding because they're getting ready for a big event. So I completely understand that. I just wish outside of that, like when it's the off season or when there's downtime, people had more fun with it. Like, I know that, there's prizing involved, and I know that, people want to go out and they want to perform well and they want to win and stuff like that. But, I'm tired of going to a local when it's a local and there's nothing on the line and playing against Victory Strike. Like, that's just my biggest pet peeve. But I digress. That's a conversation for another day.
I actually want to just continue on that real quick, because my locals one time, we agreed to a fun local, like fun decks, nothing competitive, whatever. So like, I was playing Metacooler Pan.
Nice.
Another guy was playing like, oh god, it was so bad. It was like a GT Goku deck, but with like a horrible leader. I think it was like set 1 red Goku, and he was playing GT with it. Like, everything was so bad. And then this one guy came in and played Storm.
Oh,
I just remember being so mad. Like, just so furious.
Did he not know?
Like, I'm sitting here with like 5 Metacoolers in my... No, he knew. He knew.
Oh.
That was the worst part.
Oh, man. Did he win?
I opened my hand of 5 Metacoolers, and he just like... Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Easily.
Okay. It would have been bad if you didn't win.
My Metacoolers did not get there. Yeah, right. I would have been mad at him.
Oh, man. Did he not know?
Did he win the bet?
Oh.
My Metacoolers did not get there. Yeah, right. I would have been mad at him. Yeah, right. I would have been mad at him. Yeah, right. I would have been mad at him.
Yeah, like something like that sounds like a lot of fun. And you know what? Probably when AC is over, like after the event, I'll probably take like a break. I mean, I'll still play because I can't afford to get rusty. But I probably won't play, every day. I'll probably just like kind of dial it back to like maybe once or twice a week for a little bit. But I wouldn't mind like doing a fun only, local or like a not meta leader event. Like that sounds like a lot of fun because there's so like we're at the point right now where the card pool is so huge. Like we're going into set 7 right now, and there are so many leaders and cards that nobody uses or like nobody even knows exists. Like the other day, I was talking to one of my teammates about a card, and he was like looking for some card and didn't know the name of it, and I was like, oh yeah, this is the name of the card. And he's like, dude, that's like a set 1 or set 2 card. Like how do you still know the name of it? And I'm like, I kind of have to know the name of a card. Like, if somebody asks a question, especially me being a content creator, if somebody asks a question and you don't know that's like, you kind of like just kind of legitimize everything that you've been doing for the past year and a half to 2 years. It's like, I still have to know things or cards that, were printed in set 1, because if somebody comes and starts making something from set 1 relevant again, I need to know what it does. So it's like, I wish that there was like, the other thing too is I wish that there were different formats within the format. Like if I think Pat O'Neill will agree with this 100%. I think Dragon Ball could be fun in a draft or sealed format, because I think like especially within its own sets, I think the cards, if you just take a set by itself and play that set, I think everything is so like even keeled that it could lend itself to a pretty fun format like that. I mean, the game is still pretty new, so maybe in the future Bandai will do something like that where they have like draft nights or sealed nights. Like that would be a lot of fun too, just to kick back and have fun instead of it being always about I gotta win no matter what. I don't know. That's just me, but
yeah. The World Martial Arts draft, like the sealed or the draft that we did, like when that came out, like I thought that was like the most fun I had in Super in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm. I mean, at the end of the day, right? Like we're playing a card game, right? So it is designed for mostly for it to be fun. I mean, yeah, we have the added bonus of there being a competitive circuit and there being prizing and there being, voices in the community and content creators, and it makes it feel a lot bigger, and the community is great. And, I'm not saying that, that it's bad or that it's toxic. I've been a part of other card game communities, and Dragon Ball by far has been the most warm and welcoming community out of all of them. But, it would be nice to see differences in the game, especially when it comes to play styles and different formats, because, it can get a little stale playing against the same Broly BR deck every week, or playing against the same Janemba Mill deck every week, or playing against the same Broly High to Mastery deck. Like, it could get a little boring, but, maybe there is room for that in the future. Who knows? I know for right now, the game, in my opinion, is in a good spot. There might be like 1 or 2 changes that I would make. One of them being, I think Path to Greatness really needs to be addressed moving forward, because it's just too overtuned of a card. If you literally take one of those skills away from Path to Greatness, it becomes a more balanced card. Like if you take Barrier away from it, it's more balanced. If you take the draw one or the tap down thing, it's just more balanced. But that's a conversation for a different day, I guess. Any thoughts on that?
Dude, it's I want the whole chain gone. I don't think Path is the problem.
Really?
I don't think Height's the problem, and I don't think Victory Strike's the problem. It's like the 3 of them. Because, yeah, Height was not good until Path, but like Victory Strike was good. And just because Path gets you to Height right now, like Path, the swap 4 isn't like, I don't think the swap 4 for an 8 if you have Sparking 7 is like terrible. It's only terrible because the card has barrier. The draw card is like pretty irrelevant, but like, why is it 19?
Yeah.
Why does the card that search it also search a super combo for yellow battle cards? Why does it have barrier? Why does it swap into an 8? Like, that card has more text than like any other card I've ever seen.
This is true.
Just, I don't understand how these, you know, my biggest stripe with like one drop Bardock was that the card had so many effects for a 1-drop, and like this card also has so many effects for a 3-drop. Like, I get Sparking 7 doesn't like count because it's supposed to be a negative for the card, but like it has Sparking, it has an auto, it has a swap, and it has barrier.
Yeah.
And it has 1900.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, come on.
That's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. There's only like one or two ways of dealing with it. And even then, like, obviously the whole big brain is to use the Overwhelm Bardock and swing it at active creature with 30k, but then it's just like, okay, cool, I will combo this one card and give it 15k power to combo over your measly 30k for one card.
Yeah,
it's like,
it made it so outrageous.
Yeah, and the fact that you can search the Go 10 off a successor is a little dumb too. But whatever.
Yep, it's like, well, if I don't have one, I'll have the other one.
What bothers me about Go 10 specifically is it just says yellow battle card. It doesn't say yellow swap. It doesn't say yellow Goku's lineage. It just says yellow battle card. So now when you're trying to commit, like, you're swinging a 20k into Roshi, and they just use one card to go up to 21. It's like, what is really going on right now? Like, what is life that you can use one card?
Yeah, it's so bad.
It's so dumb. But, you know, I'm sure that, you know, Bandai does do a good job of listening to the community and making adjustments when they're needed. If in all honesty, if something does happen to Path or to the chain, it's not going to happen until right before Set 7 comes out. So it's going to be like this from now until August, so we just got to get used to it. There might be like an emergency errata or ban list at the end of July just to push Set 7 product, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. So, you know, we've been talking for a little over an hour now. It's late here on the East Coast, and we're both old men. So I'm going to not keep you too much longer. But before we do go, I wanted to ask you, I noticed that you recently started a podcast series. I don't know if it's Dragon Ball related or not, but I just kind of wanted to let you plug it and get a little bit of information off of it. What inspired you to start this new podcast?
Thanks. So I currently have two. So I have one going on with Cameron, 5 last names, the head judge. We do a Dragon Ball one. I don't even know if we have a name for it. Sometimes we just randomly go live and like talk about the game. And then I have another one called You Dumb Bitch, which is my comedy podcast. I do stand up with another performer, Abby Lehman, and we produce the podcast together. It's kind of like we practice things that we want to say on stage, and we just, you know, kind of talk about nothing for half an hour. Try to make it funny so everyone can listen in and give us feedback about what they think.
That's awesome, man. Listen, I've for a long time I've been listening to podcasts. It's my favorite form of media. You know, listening to an audio file is just my favorite. So the more, the merrier. Obviously, I don't think that there's only room for like 1 or 2 podcasts in the world, especially when it comes to Dragon Ball. Like, the more, the merrier. I feel like maybe I might have been one of the first people to do a podcast for Dragon Ball, if that's even accurate. But I'm glad.
I think you were, yeah.
Thank you. I'm glad that more people have kind of like, you know, opened up to it. Like, I know Scouter Report does one. I know there's the Sensubin podcast on Facebook that Ray Julia does. You guys are, I think it's the 7-Star Report. I think that's the last time I saw it named something. I think that's what it was. So I'm glad, and I know that I know that Ellipsis was trying to do a podcast for a while. I kind of don't know what happened to that because there was only one episode. I hope you guys start picking that up again because that would be really cool. And then like all of the other forms of podcasts that are like done on YouTube. The Super Combo podcast that Aspira does out of Canada is really good. So I'm glad that there are other people that do it. And if you guys are listening, I would love to be a guest on your podcast. Like, it would be okay for me to be, like, I would not mind being a guest on somebody's podcast. Like, that would be fun for me. So if you don't have any ideas and you're running out of ideas for guests, just hit me up. I'm so more than down to be on somebody's podcast. But last question before we get out of here, man. Thank you again so much for the time you spent with us today. Any shout-outs you want to give before we get on out?
No, I hate everybody.
Okay.
You guys have a good night.
All right. Well, you heard it from the man himself, Eric Goodwin. Thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy this special upload this week, and I do apologize for the delay, but hopefully you enjoyed this episode, and we'll talk to you next week. Be there or be squared.